going to start this next panel. I want to first just thank Stephen Dinan and this panel that was with him, the Caring for Our Earth Home panel. That was really amazing. What an incredible panel that was. Thank you so much, Stephen, Andrew, James, Shutescott, Linda, and I think I'm leaving out one name here. Thank you to all of that panel. It was really astounding. Thank you also to everybody that's participating here. We have over 60,000 people participating in Global Oneness Day this year. Also, in just the last 18 hours, we went over 100,000 signatures on the Oneness Declaration. We'll be taking the Oneness Declaration to the United Nations to request that they support Global Oneness Day. So thank you to all of you who participated in signing that declaration. Let me share a little about this panel. New media is emerging that is positive, uplifting, inspiring, and more. It's called Transformational Entertainment. That's the subject of this panel. This panel brings together directors, producers, musicians, and healers featured in trailblazing transformational entertainment. They will bring you inside and tell you about conscious entertainment programming, including new projects they're working on now. Barnett Bain, Jonathan Goldman, Michael Fitzpatrick, Steve Behrman, and Emmanuel Itier will join me on this panel. You're going to have a wisdom-packed and fun-filled hour. I'm going to go right into panel member introductions. I'll introduce them one at a time, and then we'll go straight to recordings by Steve Behrman, brief recordings by Steve Behrman and Jonathan Goldman, who can't be here with us live today. Barnett Bain has built his career telling spiritually themed stories. Select credits include Oscar winner, What Dreams May Come, Emmy Award nominee, Outstanding Made-for-TV movie, Homeless to Harvard, The Liz Murray Story, and The Celestine Prophecy. We'll also be talking about the movie Barnett is filming now, based on Eckhart Tolle's work called Milton's Secret, and a recent book being translated into languages all over the world called The Book of Doing and Being, Rediscovering Creativity in Life, Love, and Work. Welcome to Global Oneness Day, Barnett.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so grateful for your invitation.
Well, it's great to have you, Barnett. And next up, Michael Fitzpatrick, from the White House to the Royal Palace in Jordan, from the United Nations to the Parliament of World's Religions in Australia, from performing for Sir George Martin of the Beatles to a performance in a Tibetan temple in the remote tip of southern India, from the United States Capitol West Lawn with His Holiness the Dalai Lama to soloing at the Hollywood Bowl, from the high hills of Spolito to the mountain peaks of Aspen, from collaborating with Nobel Prize laureates to mentoring inner-city youth, and from the historical baptismal site at Bethany beyond the Jordan to the musical descent in Mammoth Cave, the largest cave in the world, Michael Fitzpatrick has directly shaped a global vision of tuning the planet. Welcome to Global Oneness Day, Michael.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Great to have you with us. And Emmanuel Itier. He is producer and director of the feature films. Emmanuel created the award-winning movie Them, Women Healing the World, with Sharon Stone, Gloria Steinem, Marianne Williamson, and Jean Houston, and others. Before that, he created The Invocation, a documentary about God and a call to peace. Them and The Invocation have won numerous awards, including Best Documentary, Best of Film Festival, and Humanitarian Awards. And welcome to Global Oneness Day, Emmanuel.
Hello, everyone. I'm very humbled to be with all of you and celebrate Oneness Day.
And great to have you with us, Emmanuel. And some brief introductions here for the men whose recordings we'll hear here in 1 second. Jonathan Goldman, M.A., is an international authority on sound healing and a pioneer in the field of harmonics. He is the author of Healing Sounds, Shifting Frequencies, The Lost Chord, the best-selling The 7 Secrets of Sound Healing, Chakra Frequencies, co-authored with his wife Andy, and his latest, The Divine Name, winner of the 2011 Visionary Award for Best Alternative Health Book. He is also the creator of World Sound Healing Day. Then Steve Behrman is an internationally known author, humorist, and workshop leader. For more than 25 years, he has written and performed as Swami Beyondananda, the Cosmic Comic. Swami's comedy has been described both as comedy disguised as wisdom and wisdom disguised as comedy. Noted author Marianne Williamson has called him the Mark Twain of our generation. And as I mentioned, Jonathan Goldman and Steve Behrman aren't here live with us today, so we're going to listen to brief recorded messages before we go to our panel, and if we can please listen to the message from Jonathan Goldman first, please. I'd now like to introduce Jonathan Goldman, who cannot be present with us live during our program today. Jonathan Goldman, M.A., is an international authority on sound healing and a pioneer in the field of harmonics. He is author of Healing Sounds, Shifting Frequencies, The Lost Chord, the best-selling The 7 Secrets of Sound Healing, Chakra Frequencies, co-authored with his wife Andy, and his latest, The Divine Name, winner of the 2011 Visionary Award for Best Alternative Health Book. Jonathan is director of the Sound Healers Association and president of Sound Spirit Music, Inc. in Boulder, Colorado. A Grammy nominee, he has created numerous best-selling, award-winning recordings. Jonathan is a lecturing member of the International Society for Music Medicine. He has dedicated his life to the path of service, helping awaken and empower others with the ability of sound to heal and transform. You can find him at healingsounds.com. Welcome to the Global Oneness Day, Jonathan, and it's great to have you with us.
Oh, Stephen, what a blessing it is for me to be able to share with you and your audience for this, the 6th Annual Global Oneness Day. What a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You bet. It's awesome to have you with us. And Jonathan, let's just go right in here. How do you see healing sounds and transformational culture awakening humanity to oneness?
I believe, actually, that it is the path to oneness, healing sounds and transformational culture. Through using music and sound for healing and transformation, we can literally assist and help awaken humankind to a new level of consciousness, the awareness that we are all one. For example, there are some really amazing physiological benefits that occur through sound and music, particularly if you're just listening to music, and particularly also if you are just creating sounds, something as simple as humming. And these benefits, well, I have a page of them, and I'm just going to give you a few. They include lowering heartbeat and blood pressure, increasing levels of melatonin, which help you sleep, reducing levels of stress-related hormones, and releasing oxytocin, the trust hormone. So when people make sound together, all these fields of differentiation that occur break down, and we become one. Now, something I'd like to share is a very simple technique in which the heart and the brain synchronize together. Science has found that the electromagnetic field that is produced from the synchronization can be anywhere from 500 to 5,000 times greater than normal. I'd like to suggest that if you add the element of intentionalized sound to this factor, you can create an even greater field that has the ability to interface with what some people call the noosphere. I call it the Gaia matrix. To many others, it's simply the field of Mother Earth. And with regard to that, there's a reason why almost all the various prayers on our planet are vocalized. They may be spoken, whispered, chanted, or sung. This is because sound, specifically self-created sound, has the ability of amplifying this field that we were just talking about. That's why every year we present a global event on February 14th, which is Valentine's Day here in America, and it's called World Sound Healing Day, where thousands of people throughout our planet send a sonic valentine to our Mother Earth in order to raise the vibratory field of our planet, helping to awaken humanity to oneness. Remember, we heal the planet, we heal ourselves. We heal ourselves and we heal the planet. We have a choice.
Oh, beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much, Jonathan. It is such a pleasure to have you with us on Global Oneness Day, and thank you. That was wonderful.
Well, Stephen, may this 6th Annual Global Oneness Day succeed even more in creating that resonance of love and light between all sentient beings. Thank you so much.
Amen. That was beautiful. And thanks again to Jonathan for that message. And then next up, Steve Behrman, if we could share his brief recorded statement, please. I'd now like to introduce Steve Behrman, Swami Beyond Ananda, who cannot be present with us live during our program today. Steve Behrman is an internationally known author, humorist, and workshop leader. For more than 25 years, he has written and performed as Swami Beyond Ananda, the cosmic comic. Swami's comedy has been described both as comedy disguised as wisdom and wisdom disguised as comedy. Noted author Marianne Williamson has called him the Mark Twain of our generation. Since 2005, Steve has written a political blog with a spiritual perspective, Notes from the Trail. His latest book, written with cellular biologist Bruce Lipton, is Spontaneous Evolution, Our Positive Future, and a Way to Get There from Here. You can follow Steve at wakinguplaughing.com. Welcome to Global Oneness Day, Steve and Swami. It's great to have you with us.
Well, I am here in the guise of Swami, and, even though you may not think that I am live, I actually checked this morning, and I was live. So, I pinched myself. So, yes, I am here that way. And I am happy to be part of Global Oneness Day. Now, I would normally like to make a prediction, but I don't actually make predictions because I don't want to jeopardize my non-profit status. So, instead of making a prediction, I will tell a vision. And this is where I tell a vision to you and you tell a vision to me. And that's why we have healing and functional visions to step into. So for Global Oneness Day, can I tell my vision?
Please, yes.
Okay, well, here it is. My vision is this, is that in the future, and in the very near future, there will be no Global Oneness Day. Because we will have global oneness all the time. Yes? So just to remind us, once a year we'll have Global Separation Day. Just for one day, where we can remind ourselves that we used to be separate and now we're all connected. I kind of like February 2nd, which here in the United States we have Groundhog Day. Well, we can call the new day Man-Hog Day, which is the day that humanity sees its shadow and can emerge from the darkness. So we have global oneness all the time because that is what is natural and normal. Because we are all one with the same one, the universal oneness. The universe has us surrounded. We may as well surrender. And what we want to surrender to is the power of love. Love, because every moment we get to choose whether we feel love or whether we choose feel fear. Love is more powerful than fear. Otherwise, we'd be singing, all you need is fear, right? Well, no, we're singing, all you need is love. And that's very, very important because love, if it's good enough for Jesus, Buddha, and the Beatles, it's good enough for me. Now, the thing is that we have the formula for oneness. And what's happening now is that modern science and ancient wisdom seem to be saying the same thing, that every spiritual, religious, moral, and ethical path at its root has some version of the golden rule. Now, what has happened over the past millennia is that we've had many of these systems arguing with one another. It's been like, let's face it, a dogma-eat-dogma world. Well, now, what we are seeing that all dogmas must answer to the same one master. And as we begin to tune into this higher being, we recognize that if we want to overrule the rule of gold that seems to be ruling these days, we need to activate the golden rule. And so as we begin to treat everybody like they were us, because after all, we are all cells in the same body of humanity, then that way we get to remember that any individual out there who looks separate is really a mirror for us. Now, that doesn't mean I could look at you and shave. Doesn't mean that. But we are mirrors in other ways. And if we see that we are all mirrors for one another, it will indeed be a miracle.
All right. Perfect. Well said, Swami. And thank you so much for joining us. Boy, the surrender to the power of love and the dogma-eating dogma. And then ending with we are all cells in the same body. Just perfect. And thank you so much for being with us today, Steve. Gratitude to you, brother.
And thank you. And the Swami is here as well, and I wish you a very, very happy and very well-populated and very energetic Global Oneness Day 2015.
Let's go right into our panel discussion because we have this incredible panel here. Barnett Bain, Michael Fitzpatrick, and Emmanuel Itier. And let me just ask you all, each of you, of course, have chosen to focus your work on spiritual themes in your movies, your books, and in your cellist performances. You're touching people all over the world with your style of entertainment. So as we get started, can you tell people a little about your life, how you came to the work that you're doing, your latest projects, and why is oneness important to you? Barnett, do you want to start us?
Well, I'll start with my latest project since I completed shooting on it last night. It's a movie called Milton's Secret, based on a book by Eckhart Tolle about a family. It's about a 12-year-old boy whose parents are facing marital problems and financial problems and lots of stress. And it's about a boy who's dealing with being trained by his environment to become a person who is stressed. The movie stars Donald Sutherland and Michelle Rodriguez, and I look forward to talking about it this time next year when it'll be in theaters next October.
Awesome. And Barnett, you've made some huge movies that you go right straight into oneness, and even this book that you wrote. We had an earlier program with you. You were sharing, really some of the things you talk about in the book.
Yes.
Really bring us in a practical way into oneness. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Well, I try not to speak about oneness in mysterious terms or spirituality in mysterious terms. I try to be very plain-spoken about it. I believe that we are in the midst of a creativity crisis, and that creativity is, as a friend of mine says it so beautifully, creativity is love's work, that there is not really any daylight between beginning to explore our ability to create and innovate. That is, in fact, the hallmark of the spiritual life. They're one and the same. And as we understand why our creativity why it's been reduced, why there's so much creative entropy, we can begin to clear away some of the conditioning that is responsible for that. And on the other side of it, as we become more responsible for creating our choices and our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs and our moods, life seems to expand, and oneness unfolds as a natural byproduct of that. So I'm very interested in modeling the process more so than talking about it.
Yeah, well, gosh, your movie, What Dreams May Come, you certainly, the Celestine Prophecy, these movies certainly go in strongly spiritual directions, and yes, you model it as well. Well, let's go to you, Michael, and your cellist performances are amazing, and you've pointed your work straight at spirituality. And can you talk a little about that and just the whole theme of Global Oneness Day?
Yeah, I think we're all in the same space of realizing that the Earth is kind of directing the flow at this point in the game. And that seems to be an emergent consciousness grok that everybody's feeling, and I would say probably thinking in their awareness field. So one of the things I've been intent on doing is actually getting down into the earth, literally, with my cello and with other musicians to actually experience what it feels like and what it sounds like to be inside the earth. And it's a trip, to put it mildly. And the other thing is, as it relates to this creativity crisis that we're experiencing, I think that in the past, great composers, if you go back to Beethoven and Brahms and so forth, those guys were out in the woods, in the mountains, by the streams, and then they would come into the city, but that was a different kind of a city. And now we've got the jangle of bright lights in big city times 1,000, and so it's fraying people's nervous systems. So getting back to the earth is the medicine, and it's the antidote to basically being freaked out by the noise, and there's sort of a psychotic electromagnetic field out there, and unless we pump in media that I would say pierces the mind frame and blossoms the imagination, and then that drops down into the heart, and then the heart opens to the soul, the spiral into sort of cacophonous, I say this having spent not as much time in Hollywood, I don't think, as Barnett, but enough to say, sort of Hollywood junk. That ain't going to cut it for what Gene Roddenberry referred to himself as a 23rd century politician, and that's the way we have to be functioning now creatively together in a 23rd century sort of way.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I'm glad you chose the profession that you did and pointed at that spirituality. And in many ways, the points you're making go back to some of the points Jonathan made and even Steve made with his humor, that entertainment can pierce the heart that way. Sometimes we can come in best not through the mind, but through feeling and through heart connection. Emmanuel, over to you. And your movies are talking about healing, and the invocation actually talks straight out about God. Can you share a little about oneness? Why are you pointing all of your work in this direction, and how is oneness important to you, Emmanuel?
Absolutely. Well, I think, let's say that right now we're in a transition, I think, where we were in a thinking mode of the one and the Messiah, and now we realize global oneness, we are the ones, we are the Messiah. So I think there is a transformation where we were very passive at trying to get saved by something or someone else, and we are starting to realize that the saving is really a individual, responsible action that we have to input onto each other, meaning that we are the savior of each other and we have an impact on each other. That's global oneness. That means that some little kid in the street of India can come up with a cure for AIDS, or somebody really genius in a university can come up with a new economical system. We're definitely seeing that where we are so much more connected and having an impact on each other, and that's reflecting in all the movies that I'm doing. I'm really not trying to say there is one way. We are the ways, we are together, a perfect puzzle of 7 billion plus brilliant geniuses that have an impact on each other, and we all are the essential key to a solution of many, many problems that are still in front of us, poverty, economical collapses, disease. All this can be solved if we come together and dare to not try to make money at it, but dare to really focus on making it work. And that's a big difference. That's where I see, for me, it's not really a crisis of creativity. It's more like a crisis of synergies, of being the savior of each other, of really playing the game of humanity. And we're on the right direction, but we're not doing it enough, and not enough of us are doing it. So that's my humble view.
Mm-hmm. Good. Well, we'll come back and go a little deeper there. But Barnett, let me come back to you. This movie, Milton's Secret, and Barnett was sharing, he just finished filming yesterday. So it looks like a great movie based on Eckhart Tolle's work. Robert Friedman, who was involved with the Conversations with God books, also, I think he co-wrote that book with Eckhart Tolle. And then this book of Doing and Being, they're two quite different works, but they point in these spiritual directions. Can you just bring in some of these themes, and because I think they relate actually to what this day, Global Oneness Day, is about?
Well, they seem to be quite different works, but for me, they're very much the same thing. I'm only exploring in my life one thing. For many years now, I've been exploring the nature of my personal relationship to everything that I experience, my personal connection to everything that I experience. And so whether it's this movie or the book, these are personal explorations. I realize that it's very tempting to become analytical about these kinds of things. And one of my primary interests, both in the book and in this movie, is to begin to suggest that there are other intelligences beside the cognitive one, beside our executive function, besides logic and reason, that there is the embodied, the somatic consciousness, the earth consciousness that was just referred to, and that we can learn how to break the habit of being overly dependent and of relating to all of our experience primarily through the head and through story making and through the intellect. And it's tricky because from the perspective of the mind has a fail-safe mechanism. The fail-safe mechanism of the cognitive mind, the intellect says that everything other than the intellect is dubious as a life skill, including the idea that there are other intelligences beyond it. But I think that there's the myth of Orpheus, who descended from the upper world into the underworld to reclaim Eurydice, his consort, his feminine consort. And for me, this is really the journey of oneness, is to move more and more out of relating to the entirety of all that is, primarily through the head, to move it down into the body, into the gut, into the substance of our bodies, which is the earth, and to begin to reconnect with the nonlinear feminine nature of ourselves, not as a better than or as an either or, but simply to begin to create a marriage between the embodied state and the cognitive state. That's the focus of my personal life, and my personal life is demonstrated in my work, whether it's in this movie or in the book, or in my marriage, in my friendships, or being on this call with you all.
Absolutely. We're so grateful to have you with us, Barnett. Boy, that's beautiful. And isn't that, especially when we think about the Western world where, we tend to be so much up in our minds and our heads. So,
well, we love to talk about these things. We love to talk about things, but when we can maybe put a little bit of balance between maybe rest in the talking and do the humming that was referred to earlier, or the singing, or the being still, or the feeling of our emotions, or the sensing of the aliveness of our own bodies, or the dipping of our toes into the dirt outside, we begin to develop and reconnect our relationship with life beyond cognitive intelligence. And cognitive intelligence is wonderful. It's wonderful. But it is the newest of our minds, and we have a limbic brain as well, which is underutilized now and is the source of all emotional attunement, and all sense of connectivity is limbic. And the language of the limbic brain and the prefrontal cortex, the cognitive brain, they don't actually communicate. There are no connections there. And so unless we make as a functional choice of our aspiring consciousness, unless we make a priority of attuning, reconnecting with our limbic birthright, and we will wander, even those of us who aspire to a spiritual maturity, it can't be gained through thought. We're not going to outthink life. It's not going to be mastering another data set. It is a different intelligence. The path of love is not only through the head. We've tapped that one out. So we don't want to leave it behind, of course. There is more.
Yeah, I loved the way you opened up as well, Barnett, by saying that you're focusing on the nature of my personal connections and relationships, and that this is coming around into the just being a much more fulfilled person, creative person, fulfilled person.
Yes, I mean, our very understanding of what it is to be creative, we have we fetishized it into being the domain of a privileged few who make prettiness or make whatever it is, and when in fact it's the equivalent of we're like fish in water. We move through domains of creativity. There is nothing else, and this infatuation, this love affair we have with logic and reason has shoehorned our relationship with creativity into a very brittle understanding of things. But there are other intelligences beyond logic and reason. We are the home to a whole holistic set of intelligences: emotional, empathic, musical, athletic, intuitive, mathematical. Maybe it's infinite, but the tendency to process everything through thinking, obsessive and compulsive thinking is, let's just say maybe it's time to add more skills and to develop more and different kinds of attunement.
Well, that's a perfect lead into Michael, isn't it? Add other kinds of attunement.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Yeah, and well said. Gosh, I suspect I'm speaking for listeners in saying that isn't that the truth, that we leave behind all of the thinking and cognitive for this other intelligence that's much more heart-centered, earth-centered, and fulfilling. Let's go over to you, Michael, because your cellist performances are just extraordinary, which is why I guess the Dalai Lama and you are together sometimes. And I saw a video of you at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., which it was extraordinary. There's a spiritual quality that's really very moving about your work. Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, you just kind of wait, and then it arrives of its partly from its own accord, and partly because you, I think, kind of quoting Carl Jung and the motto above his doorframe: "Bidden or unbidden, God is present." But Ambassador James George likes to tell the story of basically summoning Gurdjieff, and he was quite, I would say, alarmed when Gurdjieff showed up from some other dimensional realm, and he got zapped. And playing music is very much like that, because these waves are floating all around us, but it's very hard to catch them. But music makes it, I think, easier to be the vessel for the vibration to come in and to move through. And then, because it's more than a feeling, it's also a feeling that becomes audibilized. I just sort of want to direct it back to Barnett and Emmanuel. Then it becomes the secret ingredient in the moving picture that then alchemizes the thing into a coherent visionary experience.
Yes, well, it's deeply moving, very emotionally moving, and you've also taken this in the direction of activism, haven't you? There's, I know, a program in France that you're involved with. Do you want to talk a little about that?
Yeah, I think I've thought about this a fair amount, and I don't really consider myself an activist. Peter Yarrow accused me of that in Aspen, and maybe, I guess, more I'm interested in being an activator. And so anything that can be done that's in service of sending out the signal to a wider audience. The event that you're referring to is something called Earth's Call, which is both a global broadcast event in its design build, and it's also a movement, but it's also a metaphor and a literal naming of the fact that the Earth is calling. And we can either answer the call and do whatever we can to contribute, I think, positive energy, or we can not answer the call. And I think looking at Buckminster Fuller and Martin Luther King, the fierce urgency of now is fierce enough and urgent enough that it would be kind of recklessly irresponsible to just sit around and do nothing from every global citizen.
Yes, amen. Amen to that. Well, fascinating, and I'm just, as I've been sitting here listening to the three of you, I just thank God you all didn't follow the call of just monetary success, because I'm guessing that as a cellist and movie producers, directors, writers, etc., if you had just followed that call, it probably would have created more monetary success. But in following the call that you have, you're just touching so many lives all over the world. I remember Eckhart Tolle in a little video clip with you, Barnett, was sharing how moved he was by your movie, What Dreams May Come. You all touch people all over the world. It's amazing. Emmanuel, I want to go to you. You work this latest movie, Femme. You worked with amazing women from all over the world. I only named 4 or 5 of them. You actually had, as you know, a cast that was much deeper than that. What were the themes of the movie? Were extraordinary. The women in it were extraordinary. What were some of the things, just as we go a little deeper into that you could share that would be inspiring for listeners here involved in Global Oneness Day?
Well, we just talked about being the activator of each other and being conscious citizens and responsible citizens. And I think that what all of our movies and work, music, books, that's what we're doing. We're trying to wake up ourselves and everybody else, because indeed we are living in urgent times where we have to be very careful. It's either you let things happen and then don't come to us and complain that because you didn't participate for the change, or you're going to participate and activate yourself and use whatever mean you have to be the change you want to see in the world, like Gandhi used to say it. So that's what Femme is about, really. It's about, actually in this case, it's a little bit about the feminine awakening, the masculine that has been a little bit dormant for the last 3,000 years and indulging itself in a war, in a perpetual war of egos, you know. So in our case, yeah, maybe it's about rebalancing the feminine and masculine within and realizing that we really have to act with love, passion, care, and definitely not with aggressivity, anger, dominance. You know, these are models that don't work. They lead to our destruction. So we really have to awaken people in peace and love. As the Beatles said it, Jesus Christ said it, everybody's saying it. So I think you can start believing in peace and love. It's time.
Fantastic. Well, it's a beautiful movie, and thank you for making that available to our listeners. It was one of the bonus gifts for people that registered for Global Oneness Day. Well, as we look at where we are here this year in 2015, what do you see? Have we come a distance from, say 10, 15 years ago? What is unfolding at this time?
We've come very far. I mean, you just have to get out of your house and walk in the street, and you see much more people smiling back at you and wanting to participate and engage. So there is definitely billions of people wanted to make this place a better, safer place. The sadness is at the same time you have a minority still barking way too loud and trying to steal the focus for themselves. And look at the media. They're not going to be focused on our little global oneness day of 60,000 plus people people trying to unite. No, they're going to focus on who blew what today or who killed who today. And that's sad because we know it's happening. We know that there are horrible stuff happening. But it's a minority of event compared to the vast minorities of event where we have people saving each other. You know, there are more people saving each other every second on this planet than people killing each other. So we have to really intoxicate with positivity the mind of people and give them hope that it's okay. It's not that bad out there. It's tricky. It can get worse if we are not vigilant and get involved. But it's not bad to the point that you have to hide under your couch and don't get involved, because that's how you lose. You lose your life is by hiding and becoming introverted and being disconnected eventually. So that's a danger. Don't disconnect. Connect. Dare to connect. You have nothing to lose. On the contrary.
Yeah. Throughout this day, certainly there have been talk of the challenges that we see, but there's a lot of optimism, and there's a sense that there's a lot of really good things unfolding, and in fact that we're coming straight into the world that we've wanted. Michael and Barnett, could you come in here? What are you sensing here?
Michael, go ahead.
There's a look in people's eyes and on their faces, I would say after the concerts, that is, I've been watching it for 15 years at least, and that actually, it's gotten, I would say, stronger, but it's been a through line. But I do sense that it's like the bioavailability of what's happening through the sonic generator of the cello is increasing, like the dosage, if you will, seems to be vibrationally pure. So it is moving through larger groups, and as Emmanuel was saying, there is a much greater receptivity. I would say a thirst, if not a hunger. And so then when it gets experienced, there's a gratitude that is so powerful, and the feeling of the field of energy that Thomas Merton used to say that we have to move beyond communication to communion. And I've been sensing these communion experiences at the concerts that it may just be in my imagination, but I had the sense that the Shaker community in Kentucky, which is where I grew up, that when they would sit and wait for this, for the shaking, it was they called it Holy Spirit probably, but it was this consciousness that had a palpability to it that I think lots of folks, particularly Rupert Sheldrake, have talked about the morphogenetic field moving to a quantum jump moment when the whole morphogenetic field morphs from the sort of unorganized vibration into a vibrational love that then literally tunes the planet.
Beautiful. It's wonderful. I feel the same thing, but to hear that from this musical perspective, it's exciting. Barnett, over to you on this one.
On this one, well, there's a beautiful quote. It's been attributed to Anaïs Nin. It's also been attributed to the Talmud, and to my knowledge, neither have actually been confirmed. But it goes something like, we see the world not as it is, but as we are. And I think that pretty much expresses it for me. I am wildly optimistic and hopeful. And I see the world becoming more and more enchanted every day, more and more beautiful every day. I see a brighter future every day, and I find evidence of that everywhere because I'm looking for it.
Yeah, perhaps as we all should, Barnett, or as we're invited to. There's no shoulds or shouldn'ts, but
no shoulds
if
or
we look
shouldn't,
for it, we might find it.
But as we all take the opportunity to experience our own sense of connection to all that is, what arises is the beauty of that, and the beauty of it so far outweighs what is beautiful and good and true is so disproportionately present to what is constrictive, and lots of challenges and problems in the world. There's no question about that. But all those problems are held in beauty, and see it more clearly every day, and it gives me a great sense of mattering and belonging.
Beautiful. Well, you can tell we're coming up on a wrap up here. We've got just we've got about 40 minutes left in Global Oneness Day. This thing started at 8:15 a.m. Pacific time. So let's just for this panel, I'm just thinking maybe each of you could take 2 minutes to share, your most important thing that you want to leave with this audience. We've got a great listening audience, and those that where it's a little late and they're having a meal, we do have the 48-hour free listening going on also. So what are important messages you'd like to leave with this Global Oneness Day listening audience? And we can start with any of the three of you. If you could each take about, let me say 90 seconds, that would be perfect.
Well, if I may start.
Yeah, please, Emmanuel.
So I think for me it's really about more than ever get involved with anything that you think can create a change, whether it's in you or in the rest of the world. But definitely more than ever, don't just wait to be saved, and don't just wait to see life happen, because it won't. You are part of life. You have to make it happen for yourself and everybody else. So please, go to bed tonight. It's late. Sleep well, eat well, sleep well, and tomorrow morning wake up early and get to work. And call me. I'm working with you.
What site can people go to, Emmanuel, to follow your work?
Oh, you can type just my name on Google, and you get to all of my line of works. And then if not, also you can go to femthemovie.com, and that will connect you with me. So again, it's about connection. It's really about reaching out to people and telling them, wake up, try to do something. And if you stop, or if you don't know, you hesitate, you need an advice, pick up get on your computer, send me an email, send an email to all of us. It's always that strange fear that people think we are inaccessible, and we're not. Everybody is accessible. The Dalai Lama is accessible. We are accessible. Eckhart Tolle is accessible. We are all. Everybody is quite humble, actually, when you meet them. So don't be scared, and don't think it's going to come only from them. It's going to come from you. It's about we. It's not about them or you. It's about we. So that's my little token of peace and love tonight.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Emmanuel. And just with about 60 seconds each, Barnett and Michael.
Well, I could not agree more with Emmanuel. It is an inside job. And the discovery of consciousness and the being discovered by consciousness is an inside job. And a personal matter, and I think there's only the looking for advice and tips in the next workshop that eventually taps out at some point.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes an act of surrender into the love. It becomes an awareness of that not all of the thoughts, and not all of the feelings, and not all of the activity that goes on in our heads and in our bodies. Most of it has little to do with the present. Most of it is history. And when we can begin to discern the difference between what is really present and what is an evocation of the past, old patterns, old fears triggered by something that remotely feels similar in the moment, as that begins to happen, and begin to develop the personal muscle to put the clutch in on our intuitive, our instinctive responses, the ones that we have been doing for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, some of us 60 years. And then things change. We begin to develop a capacity to self-love and to self-nurture, all those parts of us that harbor those hurts and those wounds and those patterns. We nurture them. We give them love. We allow them to be different than us. We allow them to be maybe more or less or entirely different than us, but we support them and we nurture them, and the world begins to change.
Beautiful. It's an inside job, and the world does change. And Michael, just with 30 seconds, just your closing thoughts and website, please.
Just to go deeper into the silence personally, and then to increase the silence in the field. It's a very powerful shift agent, and that feels good. Like space between the notes.
Yes, I always feel that I felt that when I was with you here in Boulder too, where you're just deeply listening, and it's beautiful. And gosh, isn't that an invitation to go ahead and put down the remote devices and step away from the computer and, put down the cup of coffee and just really, find time throughout the day to really deeply listen and deeply connect. And so beautiful. Well, gosh, let me just say thank you so much to you all, Parnett Bain, Michael Fitzpatrick, Emmanuel Itier, and Jonathan Goldman, Steve Behrman. What an amazing panel. Thank you so much. The wisdom and insight and heart energy and call to action is really awesome, and I so much enjoyed being with you all. Thank you so much. I also want to thank the 60,000 people, over 60,000 actually, who are participating in Global Oneness Day this year, listening by phone, webcast, and replay. I want to thank people, too, that went to the Global Oneness Summit site. We've got a donation button there. We're almost all volunteer in Humanities team. We put in thousands of hours creating Global Oneness Day, and we created an $11,000 objective. And thank you to all of you who went to that site and donated. We really appreciate it. Next up is our closing panel. This is going to be a whole lot of fun. We're going to bring together some of the Humanities team leaders who moderated and participated in these programs. We're going to talk about our favorite moments, and we'll be inviting you to also share and bring in your favorite moments, quotes, thoughts, inspirations from throughout the day. So it's going to be awesome. It's only 30 minutes, and that's going to close out this almost 12-hour day. Before we begin, we're going to be silent just for about 10 seconds to center ourselves in oneness with the divine and each other. We call this a oneness moment, and we're going to begin our oneness moment right now.